Coming up next on News Center 8, we'll recap today's assassination attempt on President Reagan, give you all the updates, and profile the suspect in the shootings.
Locally, we have a Cleveland area man who turned out to be a real hero during today's tragic events in Washington.
In sports, John will highlight tonight's NCAA final. And in the weather, Dick says there is no quick end in sight to our spring test.
News Center 8 is next. Stay with us.
Cleveland's Emmy Award-winning News Center 8 is next with those stories and reports tonight from Susan Howard, examining the type gun used in today's assassination attempt. And from Mike Cragen and Dave Buckle, more local reaction to the shooting.
Good evening, I'm Tim Taylor.
And I'm Judd Hembrick. Thank you for joining us. Here's what's happening. We'll repeat it once again. In Washington, D.C. this afternoon, this was President Reagan following a speech. Suddenly, gunfire. An assassination attempt. The president was hit, but pushed immediately into the limousine and rushed to the hospital. Acting quickly and with precision, the Secret Service swarmed over the suspected gunman, 22-year-old John Warnock Hinckley, Jr. of Evergreen, Colorado. Hinckley is in custody at this hour, and his motives for the alleged assassination attempt are unknown. More on the suspect in just a moment.
Tonight, Judd, the condition of the president is good. A hospital spokesman at George Washington University Hospital earlier this evening talked about Mr. Reagan following 2 hours of surgery.
As I say, he is stable and in good condition.
What is the prognosis?
The prognosis is excellent.
And locally, confirmation of that favorable prognosis from Dr. Albert Zippert, Director of Surgery at Charity Hospital, and an expert on gunshot wounds.
Age is not too important anymore. We operate on a lot of elderly people. We have excellent anesthesia and other supportive services, and most of these patients do well.
Unfortunately, the conditions of the other 3 victims range from serious to critical. White House News Secretary James Brady suffered brain damage from a bullet which passed through his head. He's fighting for his life tonight. Secret Service agent Timothy McCarthy, wounded in the stomach but expected to recover. And police officer Thomas Delahanty was also seriously wounded in the neck and shoulder, but was still able to help tackle the gunman.
By way of background on the suspect in these shootings, as I said a moment ago, his name is John Warnock Hinckley, Jr., 25 years old. He's unemployed, from a well-to-do family in Evergreen, Colorado. This is the way he looked today, being hauled away by police, coat up, face down. The FBI reports tonight that Hinckley was arrested in Nashville, Tennessee, last October, carrying 3 handguns. President Carter was in Nashville in 1973. He has a history of some psychiatric care. His family moved to Evergreen in 1974. He is said to have a sister and an older brother. In Dallas, a classmate described him as not a flamboyant type, that he just sort of blended into the crowd. Hinckley is being interrogated intensively tonight.
What about the gun used in the assassination attempt today? According to a Dallas television station, the pistol was one of 2 purchased by the suspect at a Dallas pawn shop back in October. Tonight, News Center 8's Susan Howard talked with a local range officer to find out exactly what type of gun this is. Susan?
Tim, the revolver used today was a .22, very similar to this one. Earlier tonight, I shot a .22 caliber pistol. This was my first time with a gun. According to my range instructor, the .22 is a popular gun. It's relatively quiet and doesn't have much recoil or kick when it's fired. Those of you who know guns know this, but .22 refers to the diameter of the barrel. It's measured in hundredths of an inch. The .22 is commonly used for target practice, but recently local police report it's being used more and more by criminals. One theory why is this.
The ammunition is very accessible, can be purchased just about at any department store around anywhere. It wouldn't be very questionable as for someone to come in and order to buy 500 rounds of .22 ammunition. It wouldn't seem out of the ordinary at all, where if they were to come in and order, a large amount or just a box of larger caliber ammunition, there might be some question into what it's going to be used for.
This is not a cheap handgun. This model sells for more than $300. Judd?
Okay, thanks, Susan. Still to come on News Center 8 tonight, as we continue our coverage of the assassination attempt, we have the son of a local man whose father turned out to be a hero of sorts in today's shootings. Back with that story. Tim and I return in just a moment. Be in Philadelphia, an apparent reference to where the NCAA championship game was played tonight. Tim?
And our coverage of the assassination attempt will continue in just a couple of moments with a CBS News special report. For Judd, John, and Dick, I'm Tim Taylor. Thanks for being with us, and good night.
WJKW TV8 Cleveland. The start of tonight's Maude and Ironside episodes will be delayed so that we may bring you the CBS News special report on today's presidential assassination attempt. Maude and Ironside will follow the CBS News special.
At 25 minutes after 2 this afternoon, President Reagan emerged from the Washington Hilton. It was then that shots fired at close range from a .22 caliber pistol. At least 4 of the bullets found a target. One of them, the President of the United States.
This is a CBS News special report. The shooting of the President. Here is CBS News correspondent Dan Rather.
Good evening. Ronald Reagan, 40th President of the United States, today became the 8th Chief Executive Officer of this country to be the target of an assassin. Mr. Reagan suffered a wound in his left chest from a single .22 caliber bullet. Where inches count, that bullet missed his heart by inches. The 70-year-old president underwent surgery at George Washington University Hospital to remove the bullet and repair damage to his left lung, which was pierced. A doctor at the hospital described Mr. Reagan as physiologically very young, said the president sailed through surgery, and pronounced chances for complete recovery as excellent. 3 other persons also were shot outside the Washington Hilton today. James Brady, the presidential news secretary, who is officially listed in critical condition tonight, and a Secret Service agent, also a Washington policeman, both of them reported now to be in serious condition. Jim McManus is at George Washington University Hospital now. Jim, what is the latest report there?
After 2 hours of surgery, the president is reported in good and stable condition. Doctors say he awakened in the recovery room in good spirits. They say he is an excellent physical specimen, that he was never in any real danger during the operation procedures, that the president, as the surgeons tracked a single mangled bullet that had entered his left side, struck a rib, and penetrated his left lung. Dr. Dennis O'Leary of George Washington University Hospital here said earlier the president was in some pain, but that he should be able to make decisions tomorrow, that he should be able to run the government from his hospital bed. Mrs. Reagan, who was returning from a luncheon earlier today in a Secret Service automobile, rushed to the hospital when she heard of the shooting, but did not know the president had been hit until she arrived here. She was with the president in the emergency room, stood outside the operating room during the surgery. She's reported doing fine and is back at the White House at this hour. Press Secretary Jim Brady, however, who was struck in the head by a single bullet, is reported now out of surgery.